Blessing, a very good morning to you. So I understand you have eyes and ears in Zimbabwe. Tell us whether indeed the military in Zimbabwe have surrounded the major cities of Bulawayo and Harare. For what reason?
Okay, thank you, Colin. I can confirm that the Zimbabwe National Army has been deployed in the major cities. I'm sure you're aware that last week, that is, the National Working Committee on the Security, that is the Joint Operations Command, convened a press conference allaying, fears and dismissing what they called rumours of a coup d'etat that was facing the nation. But this deployment is also being used under the guise of, regulating, the lockdown that the country is currently in to curb the spread of coronavirus. But we know for a fact that this is just a cover. There's a lot that is happening in Zimbabwe. The center, I'm sure it's no longer holding the ZANU-PF factional fight. So they are using this also to curtail, the freedoms of Zimbabwe, that is the freedom of movement and the continuous shrinking of democratic space and the closure of civic space. This is something that is worrying us. And also remember that there are public hearings on constitutional amendment number 2 that are currently happening in the country. And we've also seen, an attempt by the security forces, an attempt by the government not to allow Zimbabweans to participate freely in those, public hearings. So they are also using this, to bar Zimbabweans from participating in the public hearings.
Yeah. Blessing, you speak of rumours of a coup, and that this is essentially what these soldiers are being deployed for on the streets of Zimbabwe. It's also being reported that the very same soldiers that are on the streets everywhere in Zimbabwe have been circulating a video of former President Robert Mugabe's ousting, that letter that was read in the National Assembly of his resignation. And the caption that goes with this video, Blessing, and I just want to quote here what I've received. It reads, "From time to time, we must remind each other." What do you make of the caption that has been sent out with this video?
Well, I think that, reading from that video that you are talking about, it is clear that when a military coup happens, there is a lot that is involved. There are a lot of people that are involved in that military coup. It is not just the elite, the part of the military elite, but also the ordinary soldiers were part and parcel of that coup, and they feel that they are yet to get the spoils, of that coup, because there were promises that the removal of Robert Mugabe was also going to improve, their remuneration as, as the security, as the people or the soldiers on the ground. But we have seen that the economy has deteriorated, and as of the day before yesterday, the members of the army had received their salaries, and their salaries, it's just an equivalent of $40 a month in the country with the runaway inflation, in a country where the cost of living is getting high. The economy has failed, to work. So essentially, that reminder is to say, we assisted you to be in power, but you are still in poverty. Nothing has improved. In fact, the situation has deteriorated. But we know for a fact that in any country where a military coup has happened, it has a tendency of recurring. What we saw in November 2017 is still with us. Zimbabwe is still in a coup as I speak. That is why you saw the soldiers have never returned to barracks. In many occasions they are used and they are unleashed upon innocent civilians who try to air out their grievances, also to challenge or to call for the improvement in the economy, the improvement in their livelihood.
Yeah.
But essentially, what we are seeing is a military that is fed up, a military that is dabbling into politics because they have realized that it's actually possible to stage a military coup and get away with it. And this is a call to the military that they must return to barracks. Their actions have no place in a democracy. They have no place in any jurisdiction. And we also call upon regional bodies like SADC, like the African Union, to rein in on the situation that is happening in Zimbabwe, because it is a threat of destabilizing the region. It is a regional threat.
Yeah.
And also that the statutes of SADC, they conform to the promotion of peace and maintenance of peace, security, and democracy. And we urge the Zimbabwean government to abide and to conform to these values and principles.
Yeah.
But also,
Blessing, just very quickly, let me interrupt you there, Blessing. I just want to find out very quickly, very briefly, if you can, the deployment of security forces on the ground in Zimbabwe is usually followed with, or it usually is accompanied by a heavy-handedness in the handling of citizens. How are ordinary people being handled by the soldiers and police on the ground right now?
Well, essentially, I can say that Zimbabwe is now under martial law. Remember that we had some abductions that happened earlier in the last month, where it is suspected, there is high suspicion that members of the military were involved. And we've also had cases of civilians being beaten, civilians being abused by members of the army in various parts of the country. So this is a pattern that has remained, in our political environment for quite a long time. This is not only happening now, but cases have been reported of the abuses that the military has been perpetrating since the fall of Robert Mugabe in November 2017. The shootings of July 2018, just after the elections.
Yeah.
The shootings by the military in January of 2019, when the wave of demonstrations rocked Zimbabwe. So essentially, the military has not returned to the barracks since November 2017.
All right, Blessing Vava, thank you very much for your time. He is with the crisis in Zimbabwe.